Mr. Speaker, our country, 30 years into the Fourth Republic, is still struggling with issues of poverty, youth unemployment, chieftaincy conflicts, economic hardships, vigilantism, insecurity of all forms, and corruption in public life. Yet we can also not claim that attempts have not been made by the political leadership in the 30 years of our democratic dispensation under the Fourth Republic to address many of these issues. We have established institutions and also provided mechanisms to deliver public goods to our people. The 1992 Republican Constitution has no doubt served some good in the last 3 decades. I must, however, admit that some assumptions underpinning some of the provisions no longer hold or are not supported by current socio-political realities. This underlies the call by various stakeholders for a review of the 1992 Constitution. Mr. Speaker, it is time to re-engineer our constitutional architecture to conform to today's realities. We need a constitutional order that frowns upon winner-takes-all syndrome and promotes collaboration, collectiveness, and consensus building in decision-making at all levels of governance. We need a new constitutional order that will ensure gender equity and, in many respects, equality to promote real development. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, the Inter-Parliamentary Union, the IPU, has resolved that by 2025, all parliaments in the world must comprise of at least 30% women representation. The Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, CPA, has adopted a similar position since last year. How prepared is the Parliament of Ghana to align without the relevant amendment to the Constitution? We need a constitutional order that will mitigate the winner-takes-all and prevent the do-or-die combat associated with our elections. We need a new constitutional order that will prevent the constant increase in the number of seats in Parliament. We need a new constitutional order that will put a cap in the number of ministers of state. A new order that will ensure that the Speaker of Parliament is a serving member of Parliament and that the Parliament of Ghana does not remain as one of only 9 parliaments in the world whose speakers are not members of Parliament. We need a new constitutional order that will accord Parliament the financial independence that is required to enable Parliament to stand on its own feet. A new constitutional arrangement that will liberate Parliament to perform its legislative functions without impediments, intended or unintended. Mr. Speaker, we need a new constitutional order that will give birth to an economic paradigm which will engender wealth creation, entrepreneurial spirit, and talent development, as well as jobs for our people, especially the youth, with the active partnership of Parliament. A new constitutional order that would remodel the composition of the NDPC, the National Development Planning Commission, to purge it of the overly partisan coloration and populate it with neutral citizens who develop a real long-term national development plan around which the parties would extract their manifestos and therefore ensure that succeeding administrations continue the programs and projects started by their predecessors in order to prevent the wanton dissipation of the scanty resources of this country. A new constitutional order where the Auditor General will respect the fact that he is a tool for Parliament in the performance of its functions, the oversight functions, and therefore cannot unilaterally exact and prosecute surcharges, and even before submitting his reports to Parliament, find a way to leak the recommendations to the general public. A new constitutional order where assets declared by public servants can be traced and tracked by the Auditor General for purposes of tax compliance, and not to encourage a system where public servants declare their assets that they do not have, but assets that they aspire to have. A new constitutional order that will better define the role of the Council of State. Should it be transformed into a second chamber? Should the composition be made much more democratic? A new constitutional order where the appointment of officers of the constitutional creatures, in particular the Electoral Commission, SHRAG, NCC, Media Commission, would be subjected to the prior approval of Parliament, perhaps using absolute and not simple majority. A new constitutional order where there will be no place for public tribunals. A new order where the qualification criteria to the apex courts of the land will be enhanced, and there will be a cap on the number of justices to the Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, a new constitutional order that will bring greater clarity to the emoluments of Article 71 office bearers. A new order that will make the amendment processes and procedures less cumbersome and less expensive. A new constitutional order that shall place national and human development at the center of a sustainable development agenda.